All right. Welcome to our regional rally, KW Colorado, August 2026. We've got a full agenda today, so we're going to jump right in. Your regional team, as always, is me, your regional director, Russ Nolting, Kelly, our regional ops manager, Charles Coleman is here, our regional tech trainer, and Jenny Schlip, our regional MCA. And today we're going to start with some announcements, go right into some agent recognition. Cooper is giving his monthly market update. And then we've got a panel of all-star agents from who attended Mega Camp last week in San Antonio. And they're going to be sharing some of their best takeaways from that event. So let's get right to it. Whoops. Wait a minute. The Rocky Mountain Summit is right around the corner. Our discounted room block at the Hyatt, which is a luxury Marriott property, ends this Friday. So the discounted room block ends this Friday. Until Friday, you can get your normally priced $500 room for $259, I believe it is. So if you haven't booked your room for the summit, do so now. 2026 Rocky Mountain Summit.eventbrite.com if you want to get on that. Speaking of the summit, our keynote speaker this year is Sahil Bloom. Sahil Bloom, for those of you who don't know, wrote The Five Types of Wealth. Sahil is a guy who finished, I believe, at Stanford University, went right into a almost seven-figure job. And he, after a couple years in that job, realized that life wasn't fulfilling. And he changed the course of his life and moved from just pursuing financial wealth to a life of pursuing all types of wealth. He's going to talk about how to have interpersonal wealth, how to have emotional wealth, how to have spiritual wealth, how to have physical wealth. And he is going to talk a little bit about how to have financial wealth as well. Jay Papasan is going to be at the summit. Wendy Papasan, Jordan Freed is going to be talking about how to improve your business with some specific strategies on for high producing agents. Lauren Lucas is going to be talking about AI. David Voorhees is doing a tech presentation. Ruben Gonzalez is going to do part of our economic update. He's the chief economic officer, I believe they call him at KWRI. Brandon Green is an expert on wealth building. Carolyn Woe is doing our luxury event the day before, so you don't want to miss this. Speaking of, the first night, Thursday night of the Rocky Mountain Summit, we have a special summit soiree. And this is something we started last year. It's a penthouse experience at the Hyatt overlooking the gondola. Chris Zarnecki, our CEO, is going to be joining us for that. In fact, he's going to be joining us for the entire event. Jay and Wendy and all the other panelists and speakers are going to be at that. If you want to have some one-on-one conversations with some of our speakers and whatnot, this is the place to be. Sahil's doing a special breakfast on Friday morning before his keynote address, where he'll talk a little bit more about the five types of wealth, photo opportunity, signed book, all that great stuff. So these are some add-ons you can do. And don't forget that Wednesday, September 23rd, 1 to 4, is the Luxury Summit with Carolyn Woe. She's got some amazing agents that are coming with her to talk specifically about how to increase your luxury business. She's chosen people this year who she says are not just great at talking about selling luxury homes, but they're bringing specific strategies that can work in our markets. So you don't want to miss that. Every Monday, Charles and I do our Mile High Market Brief. It's at noon. Right after this call, we're going to do it. Each week, we pick 5 or 6 news articles from various sources with national news, local news, and we dissect them in a way that you can use to talk to your clients and improve your conversations with them about what's really going on in the market. That's every Monday. You just go to milehighmarketbrief.com to sign up and get access to the Zoom. And as usual, all of our events can be found at kwcoloradoevents.com. If you follow that Eventbrite page, you'll get notified. Savanna.
All right. So, we are a sponsor for the region. Signature Agent Services is. And one of the things I love to tell agents is that we're not just a service, we're actually a partnership in your business. If you want to go to the next slide, Russ. So, we offer a lot of things, but it's not just that we offer all of this. We are able to customize it and actually help our agents build their business. So if there is something in particular you're doing for your clients during a transaction, we can go in and help make sure those tasks are being done and kind of hold the agent accountable to what needs to be getting done. Over the 12 years I've been in the real estate industry, I've been on the support side, and it I saw firsthand kind of what was happening with transaction coordinating and database management, where it was just kind of falling short to be able to support agents at all levels. And so this has been a scalable system. We are now in 14 states. Since in March, when I was talking to Jason, I think we said we were at 7, so we've already doubled this year. And it's just been an absolute amazing thing to watch these agents grow their business. Last year, all agents that used us in 2025 had doubled their business from 2024. And we saw a downturn in 2025. And I truly believe it's because we pair you with the right person on our team and you guys build truly a partnership so you can hit the ground running. We do also offer additional things for Colorado region only for the offices, so I would be happy to speak with anybody about that. But as you can see, we have the QR code, and if you scan that, it will set up a 15-minute discovery call. You can go to the next page. So yeah, we're built on growth for your business, and I would just love to be able to connect with everybody here in the region and see how we can help. Even if you have a great transaction coordinator but need CRM help or social media help, we can help in any area. Or if you just want to mastermind, I'm also down for that.
All right. Thank you, Savannah. We appreciate it. And we've also got Kathy and Tina here.
Hey,
Kathy, Tina,
Ross.
how are you?
Good. How are you?
Doing great. Is
Great.
Tina here as well, or just I
She
can't see her.
is.
Yep,
She
I'm
is.
here. Hi, Russ.
Hi, Tina. Charles, can you spotlight her? I can't see her. Go ahead, Kathy. Tina.
All right. Awesome. Awesome. And you can see our contact information there on the screen. So I'm not going to take time to introduce us. We are sponsors for the region as well. And what I wanted to talk to about today really is, what do today's buyers need from you? You've heard some great takeaways, I'm sure, from Mega Camp. I want to take all of that big thinking and bring it down to one conversation, the one that you're having with your buyer. Truthfully, what are buyers worried about right now? Just think about that for a minute. The biggest thing Tina and I are hearing is affordability. But I think the affordability conversation has changed. It's no longer just, can I buy this house? It's, can I afford to own this house? So besides the mortgage payment, what concerns you most about the cost of owning this home? That's the one thing I'd like you to take away from me today. Ask your buyer that question. Maybe it's insurance, maybe it's maintenance, maybe it's that 18-year-old furnace and an 11-year-old hot water heater that showed up on the inspection report. And if their concerns turn into this question about protecting themselves from those unexpected repairs, you don't need to be the warranty expert. We're here for you. You be the expert on the relationship. Let us be the expert behind you. That's all I got for today. I think the next slide might have a QR code. If you want to meet with us, scan that QR code, enter your information, and we will reach out to you. Thank you so much for having us.
Thanks,
Yep.
Kathy. Thanks, Tina.
Thanks
We
so
appreciate
much.
it.
Yep.
And we want to thank all of our regional sponsors: Top Flight Home Loans, America's Preferred Home Warranty, Choice Home Warranty, and Signature Agent Services. We appreciate everything you do to help us continue to grow our region. All of our training can be found on our YouTube channel at KW Colorado Region 7. And if you just if you just in the search bar search for KW Colorado region, you'll find us there. These regional rallies are there. The Mile High market update that Charles and I do every week is there as well. Moving on to recognition for July of 2026. We're going to start recognizing our individuals with closed units. Shea Mulder from Denver Highlands, 5.4. Rodrigo Villafana from Summit County, 5.5. In the third spot with 6 units each, and I've got to clear this screen. There we go. Rage Real Estate from Highlands, Brandon Angel from Pueblo, Corey Martin from DTC, Sheila Bailey from Denver West, Shirley Amarin from Denver North, Sue Kenner from DTC, and Tara Cisneros from Denver North were in the third spot. Second spot, Faith Young with 8 units, and Hussein Garcia led the region in individual agents, closing 10. Moving on to volume, Tim Wade was in the 10th spot, Kate Lay in the 9th, Jeff Smitty Smith was in the 8th spot, Shay Peterson in the 7th, spot number 6, Hussein Garcia, number 5, Corey Martin, number 4, Sheila Bailey in the top 3 for closed volume for the month of July. Shirley Amarin from Denver North closed 4.8 million. Daniel Egan from Client's Choice, 5.4. And Don Howe from Grand Junction closed 8 million. 8.2. Congratulations, Don. Whoops. Sorry. There we go. Regarding GCI, Hussein Garcia was in the 10th spot with 97,000. Shea Mulder in the 9th with 97.9 thousand. Sheila Bailey, 98.5. Jeff Smith, 98.6. Number 7 was Shay Peterson, who broke the 100,000 mark. Vanessa Marquez, number 5 at 101. Kate Lay from Summit County, 106. Top 3, Shirley with 107,230, Daniel with 127,363, and Don Howe had GCI of 215,200. Congratulations, all. Great work. Moving on to teams. This is where 2 people are in production with closed units at 2 each. Shepherd Property Solutions, the Kiker team, the Neville Group, the PCS Pro team, the Rivera team, the Schaefer Home team, Van Westenberg Partners, Bresky team, Distinct Group, and Gill Orchard Homes. Number 4 with 3 units, Cadre, Denver Tech Center, the Zamora Group, folks. I'm not exact. Oh, I see. I beg your pardon. Continuing number 5, Homes of SoCo Group from Partners, Impact Properties Group from Partners, Mancha and Associates, Margaret Gade Homes, McChesney Team, and Hoffman Group. They were all tied for 5. For the 4th spot with 3 units, Cadre, Denver Tech Center, and the Zamora Group. For the 3rd spot with 4 units each, AN Homes from Arvada, Buy It Team from Grand Junction, Seed Property Group from DTC, Team Colorado Living from Grand Junction, The Collective from Denver Downtown, the Steve Henson Sales Team from Pueblo, and the Vincent Group from Castle Rock. Number 2, 5 units each. Axis Property Solution, Clinkscale's home team from Northern Colorado, JC Home, Denver home team from Highlands, the Grand Junction Group from Grand Junction, the Mountain Group from Southwest Colorado, and the Grit and Grace Group from Pueblo. And Tony Greer and Associates took the lead with 11 units. Great job, Tony and friends. For volume, the Collective was in the 10th spot, Axis Property Group in the 9th, the Mountain Group in the 8th, Cadre from DTC in the 7th spot, Team Colorado Living from Grand Junction was number 6, Gill Orchard Homes was number 5, AN Homes was number 4, and our top 3 for volume, Clinkscale's home team from Northern Colorado, JC Denver home team from Denver Highlands, and the Zamora Group also from Denver Highlands. Great job, teams. Moving on to GCI, Gill Orchard Homes brought in 59,000. Team Colorado Living, almost 60,000. Clinkscale's home team, 61,000. Axis Property Groups, 65. Axis Property Solutions, 65,000. Cadre, 66,000. Van Ark, Colorado, 78,000. AN Homes, 80,000. And the top 3, the Kiker team at 82. The Zamora Group at 87 and JC Denver home team at 99,000. Great job, teams. Moving on to groups. The Vesta team closed 12. Kibler Group and the Skinner Group each closed 13. Jamie Baker Orr closed 30. Colorado Lifestyle Real Estate Group, 37. And the Johnson team, downtown Colorado, 39 units. Great job. The Vesta team was number 10 for volume. Lantern Home Group, number 9. Atha team from Grand Junction, number 8. Empower Home Team, Colorado Front Range, number 7. Hudson Stonegate team was number 6. Jamie Baker Orr team, number 5. The Carol Kessler team, number 4. And our top 3 for volume groups were the Skinner team from Summit County at 10 million, the Johnson team, downtown Colorado Springs, at 18 million, and Colorado Lifestyle Real Estate Group at 27 million. Great job. Finally, GCI, the Shea team was in the 10th spot, Atha team in the 9th, Hudson Stonegate in the 8th, Relevate 7, Empower Home Team, Colorado Front Range 6, Jamie Baker Orr team 5, the Carol Kessler team 4, and the top 3 for GCI, the Skinner team from Summit County, 259,685, the Johnson team, 450,280, and Colorado Lifestyle Real Estate Group from Denver Tech Center led the way at 528,122. Great job, Diana and friends. Congrats to all of our top producers. Great job, folks. All right, we're going to turn it to Cooper.
All righty. Let me get my screen going here. Perfect. Well, hello, everybody. Happy Monday. Hope everybody's doing well. And congratulations to all of the top producers this month. I wanted to talk about something a little bit different today than the normal market updates that I give. And this came out of something that I've been thinking about in my own business, which is that I think we're approaching the CMA a little bit wrong. So I want to talk about that today. We call it a comparative market analysis, but a lot of time what we're really trying to produce is something closer to a miniature appraisal, right? We pull comps, we make adjustments, we look at price per square foot, and eventually we arrive at a number and tell our sellers, hey, I think your house is worth $750,000. And I've become increasingly convinced that determining that number isn't actually the most valuable part of what we do for a seller. So I wanted to take a look at what the data tells us about valuation versus actual market performance, and then talk about how I think we can make the CMA a little bit more useful. So here's the basic distinction that I'm trying to make. There's obviously a valuation component to the CMA. We need to understand the property, understand the comps, the location, the condition, and end up with an approximate number of where the evidence supports the value. But I think we often treat that as the final product, right? We essentially say, hey, seller, I've completed my analysis, and therefore I've determined that your house is worth X. And that's much closer to an appraisal question, whereas a market analysis should take us one step further. If the evidence suggests that the property is worth somewhere around this value, well, what should we actually do about it? You know, what happens if we price at that value? What happens if we price higher or lower? Who are we competing against? What kind of response should we expect? So valuation should be at the beginning of the conversation and absolutely not be at the end of it. So I decided to test this valuation problem and see how difficult it really is. So I took all of the 39,000 plus closings through July this year and built a statistical model using 28 different property characteristics, right? 28 fields in the MLS that have nothing to do with a listing's performance because we're backward looking at closed listings. So no days on market, no concessions, no transaction information, no information about how the property actually performed, just the characteristics of the home itself. And using those characteristics alone, a statistical model can explain over 91% of the variation in the eventual sale price. So that's not an accuracy rate, but there is meaningful error at the property level. But the larger point is that valuation is pretty predictable. And as experienced agents, we essentially do a more sophisticated human version of what this model does. We're already very good at figuring out what homes are worth on paper. And when you look at what the model is actually using, there aren't any magic hidden variables. We look at living area, we look at the size of the home, we look at the schools and the location, the lot size, the type of home, the age. It's basically formalizing a lot of the same information that we already consider when we perform a CMA. And that's why I think that the biggest opportunity for us as agents is becoming dramatically better at calculating the theoretical value of a house. Obviously, we need to be good at valuation because the comparables are important. But increasingly, the more interesting question is what happens when we take a property with a reasonably knowable underlying value and actually expose it to the market, because that is where things become a lot less predictable. And this is really the statistic that changed how I started thinking about this, because we can take this model and this process that we as agents do all the time and ask it, what is this home ultimately going to sell for? And it's excellent. I mean, we are very good at predicting that, but you ask the same question or ask the same model, use the same process to ask how the listing is actually going to perform, and its predictive power totally collapses. If we look at performance, which is our sale price to original list price, basically our pricing accuracy, looking at the market and sold comps can only explain about 14% of the variation in listing performance. And same with speed. We can only explain about 14.5% of time on market by looking at sale comps. So think about what that means. The house itself can tell us a ton of value or a ton of information about its underlying value, but it tells us very surprisingly little about the path that the listing is going to take to get there. So the key point here is that the property sets the value, but that's not what the CMA is for. The CMA is to determine the market strategy on how the market is going to discover that value. So there's a couple things that I wanted to show you to kind of reframe how we think about what a CMA should do, and using these actual numbers to create a more effective model that will benefit our sellers more. So the first thing that I've changed in my personal business is in how we talk about the number itself. I've tried to completely stop saying, seller, I think the market value of your home is X. Because the problem with that language is that it takes something that's inherently, fallible and it makes it sound definitive, because we can be really good at estimating value, just like this model is really good at estimating value, and the market's going to prove us wrong a lot of the time. And when we communicate that estimate like it's a fact, it creates a really significant risk of overpromising and under-delivering, which is something that we really never want to do. Tell a seller that their home is worth $750,000 and the market ultimately supports $720,000, what they remember is that I told them $750,000. So instead, to start framing the valuation as the playing field. Here's approximately what the evidence supports. Now, seller, let's talk about what pricing decision we want to make within that context and what we expect the consequences of that decision to be. So it's a subtle distinction, but I think it's a much more accurate way to communicate uncertainty and really what we're doing in a market analysis to a seller. We're not doing an appraisal, we're doing a market analysis. So the market needs to be a substantive part of that analysis. The second thing is, on top of that, not predicting the sale price. What we should focus on more is the market's response. Because we can look at a sale price, and again, it's going to get you into trouble. So instead of saying, again, I think the market value of your home is X, the approach that I've been trying to use more is, at X price, based on my professional opinion, the data that I'm seeing in the market, the current competition, and the market conditions, here's how I think the market would respond. And I think that's a fundamentally better way to talk about pricing than saying, I think the market value of your home is X. Because again, 9 times out of 10, the market's going to prove you wrong. And instead of promising a fixed number and putting conviction behind a number, you're explaining probabilities and consequences and assisting sellers in making informed decisions. And it really reframes the way that sellers are thinking about price as well. Because a seller often comes to you, and if we were in a room and I said, "Hey, how many times do you walk into a listing appointment and you ask the seller if they have an expectation of what number their home is worth?" Everybody's going to raise their hand, right? We all walk into a listing appointment that way. But really, we want to shift that idea to a different perspective. At this price, who are we reaching? What else are those buyers seeing? What kind of showing and offer activity can we expect at a given price? Where do we think that we're going to encounter resistance? What changes if we move higher or lower? Because our jobs as a seller's representative isn't to predict the eventual sale price perfectly. It's to interpret the information that we have and explain the likely consequences of the decisions available to the seller. And I think it creates happier clients too, because the expectations are established far before the market starts giving us new information. So that's the second change we can make. Don't predict the sale price, forecast the market's response. And the third thing to think about is feedback. Decide what the market should tell you, what it might tell you before you put it on the market. We need to be careful before we launch. And I know I harp on this point a lot. If you've ever seen me talk before, you know that I feel strongly about speed and making quick adjustments, because in reality, if we take the median home and compare that median original list price, the listings that sell in the first 2 weeks versus the ones that take 3 months, the difference in net to the seller is almost $50,000. So I'm not saying that, reaching day 91 magically causes a seller to lose a specific amount of money, but the relationship is very clear that listings that went under contract in the first 2 weeks ultimately realized a median of over 99% of their original list price after concessions. And for listings taking more than 3 months, that falls to 90.1%. So waiting indefinitely for the market to try to validate our original opinion can be really expensive for our sellers. And that's why I increasingly want us to have these conversations and sellers to understand before we ever launch, one, what is healthy demand going to look like? Two, when are we going to evaluate the response? And what evidence is that response going to tell us? Because what that does is it shifts a price reduction rather than saying we failed or we got it wrong or we missed the mark, which is what happens when you provide a single number as a prescription rather than a set of circumstances that you can create a strategy around. It's just a response to new information. So overall, what I want us to think about is trying to rethink the CMA. And there's 3 key points to recognize here. Number one is that we're not appraisers, so stop doing appraisals. The CMA is a comparable market analysis. An appraisal arrives at a number. A comparable market analysis should arrive at a strategy. It should arrive at a set of options for a seller and allow them to fully understand at different prices what we think the market is going to respond to. The second thing is advise the seller on strategy. Again, not what their home could maybe possibly potentially be worth on paper, because that's a lot of times what the seller wants to hear is, what is my home worth? Instead, we should reframe that conversation to, well, seller, here's a few numbers to think about. And here, based on my expertise, my research, my experience selling similar homes to yours, this is how I feel the market would respond to these different numbers. And that helps the seller choose the strategy. So that third takeaway is we shouldn't just answer, what is this home worth? Because that's not what a CMA is for. It really should answer in the most complicated question ever is how do we get this home to market and find its highest price and best terms? That's our job as a seller's representative, is to get them the highest price and the best terms that they would accept in the most efficient, optimal way possible for the seller. And oftentimes that means focusing on speed, focusing on reacting to market response, right? Taking new information and adjusting the strategy as needed. So my ask of you is to try to rethink this process, this CMA process, because a lot of times I know we walk into a listing appointment and we want to have a number. We want to have a prescription for the seller and say, this is the cure to your problem. Your problem is you need to sell a house. I'm prescribing you this number, and this number is the number that's going to get it done. Instead, stop appraising and start thinking about what information is going to help the seller make a well-informed decision and understand the consequences of different numbers. To me, that's the difference between treating a CMA like an appraisal and treating it like an actual market analysis. So that's all I have for you today. I kept it super short and sweet for you. Hopefully this is helpful to try to rethink a little bit about how you're approaching the CMA. And I have an exciting announcement. I actually just released a new book last week. You can find it at the QR code on the left. It's called Mastering Market Trends. I wrote it as a quick field guide containing all the different market trends concepts for you. And it's really focused around not just explaining what different measures and analytics are, but how to actually explain them to clients, how to use them in your conversations to benefit your clients. And as always, if you want to download these slides, they are available at the brand new redesigned cooperthayer.com/KWRR. You can scan that QR code. I have all of the slides, 12 months now. I've got them all the way back to last August. So if you're interested in downloading them, reviewing them later, sharing them with your colleagues, please feel free to do so at my website. Thank you all so much, and I look forward to seeing you next month.
All right. Thank you, Cooper. We appreciate you as always. We've got our last bit for today. We are welcoming Savanna, Campbell, Regina, Stout, and Jill Forman. They're 3 attendees from Mega Agent Camp, and they're going to be sharing some of their takeaways. Charles, did you spotlight them for us? There's Regina. And Savanna. Spotlight yourself too, Charles. We're looking for Jill Forman. Where'd she go? There she is. All right. And Charles, spotlight yourself too. So thank you all for being here today, and we appreciate you choosing to share with us. We're just going to dive right in. And our first question for the panel is, what's the one idea, shift, or conversation from MegaCamp that you're still thinking about? And why are you still thinking about it? Regina, you want to start?
Sure.
By the way, tell us a little bit about where you are, about your business and where you're currently serving clients.
I'm a solo agent in Grand Junction with a transaction coordinator and virtual assistant, and I cover Mesa County and Delta County. I try not to travel too much more than that. I've been with KW. I just celebrated 14 years with KW, and I close between 36 and 40 transactions every year. So,
yeah. And how many mega camps have you been to?
This was actually my first mega camp.
What?
I know.
14 years?
I know.
Oh my goodness.
I was actually, I've planned to go. Like the one time I planned to go was when they had all the big flooding in Houston, and I said, okay, I could clean my own house. Sorry. I didn't want to get in the way. That's a horrible thing to say. Of course, I love to contribute to KW Cares, but I just thought, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
But so this is the first time. I always have gone to family reunion, but never to mega camp.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
one takeaway, one idea, shift, or conversation that you had that you're still thinking about, and why?
Mhm. I think it's how we address and looking at applying what I learned there at Mega Camp and applying it to some of the home buyers that we are working with currently. I have tons of listings and I've never been so listing heavy. And so the one thing that I thought that I needed to address differently is how I'm relating to buyers, and especially those first time home buyers when we're talking about how many of them actually have wealth or have money conversations in their world. Gary grew up talking about money constantly. I grew up in a different household where you didn't talk about money at all.
Right.
And I did things a little differently for my son. But the one thing he kept saying that stood out is, can we see those wealth building assets? We don't see somebody's money market funds and how they're investing their retirement, but we do see their consumable assets or their consumable wealth. And those were the two terms that Gary identified. And those are the things that I think are, I'm in my 60s right now, so at a little different spot than somebody who's in their 20s or 30s with a family trying to afford a home. And I think we look at that differently. And when these kids, I call them kids, okay, but grew up with the Snapchats and that instant gratification, it's easier for them to see hope in, hey, I'm going to drive this fancy car, or I'm going to have a fancy phone or a stereo to put into it. And that's showy, but it's not building them wealth. So when we look at that graph over 35 years, the one thing that Jason Abrams said that really caught my attention on this whole conversation is, first Gary's laying the seed about wealth, and then how do we get there by owning a home? And when people are hesitant to get into the market because of affordability, he made the point of, you are not buying at the top of the market because that market keeps going up through the years, but you're buying at the top of the moment. But it's still a good investment, and it's still going to create wealth. And that's lingered with me because that's hard to explain to people.
Yeah,
just like
for sure.
it took me 5 minutes to answer one question.
Savanna, tell us who you are, where you serve clients, and your one idea, shift, or conversation from Mega Camp that you're still thinking about.
Yeah. So I'm with Signature Home Team as their Director of Operations. We are mainly based in Estes Park, yet also serve the Loveland, Fort Collins, Berthoud area as well, down into Lyons, Glen Haven, all those little tiny fun towns. And one conversation that I actually haven't been able to shake is the conversation on day one with Gary Keller about fear and being fear fit. He said the goal isn't to become fearless, it's to become fear fit. Practicing responding differently, every repetition teaches your mind. I can see this, I can do this. And I think it's one of those things in real estate we all have heard, do the boring thing, you have to be repetitive. And yet fear has held so many people back. And what was interesting, how he talked about if you let fear win, it actually trains your brain that it kept you safe. And to actually then eventually break that habit will be even more difficult. In the past 2 years, this has been something that I have been leaning into, but didn't realize this is what I was actually leaning into. So I thought it was a really interesting conversation, especially, QL. I'm sure everyone has heard. I'm the ambassador. I love it. It's such a great class. And yet this really was tapping into it about the habits that you need to make around to be fit around fear and being able to just get past it.
Yeah, that was a pretty remarkable conversation he had, and I think we should be getting those slides like in a couple months, but not straight away. So even though he told us we were getting them right away, Jill, tell us about yourself a little bit and what was the one idea that has stuck with you.
Hi. Okay. So I'm Jill Forman. I'm out of the Denver North office. And we live in Broomfield, but we also have a second home in Lyons, Colorado. So I'm from Denver, so my reach is kind of from Denver all the way up into the Boulder, a little bit north of that. Since I have friends and family all along the Front Range, being a Colorado native. So, and sorry, I'm at the airport for those of you who don't know. I ended up going down to South Padre Island after mega camp and took a little vacation. So, um, and 3 went under contract, as I told Russ earlier, because I'm on vacation, of course. So that's my big takeaway. No. um, the thing that really is sticking with me was the keynote speaker, Simon Sinek, and he was talking about the why, which is a little different than we've all kind of thought about that. If you've been with KW for a long time, like, why are you doing this? What is your big reason? What is your big why? His why was a little different, and understanding the why of who you are and really going back and figuring that out. Like, who were you when you were 14, 16, those ages? Like, what brought you joy? What naturally did you do that was easy for you? How did you connect with people? Like, get back to that essence of who you are. Because as we've gone through other experiences, we may have compared ourselves to other people that are successful and tried to do that instead of really who we are. And so it really stuck with me because I truly believe that if at the core of who you are is what is easy for you to do and brings you joy, that your
Mhm.
business is going to thrive no matter what that is. So for me, I was a previous teacher, and when I look back at those times, I was helping other students even when I was 13, 14. And so my joy is teaching and
Yeah.
educating, and I even did teach at Mega Camp this year for the very first time, which was
Yeah.
awesome. So I think leaning more into that side of things, because that changes the conversation for me with clients, client events, and even other agents and referral partners around the country. Like, those things bring me joy and they're easier for me. Therefore, I'm going to be happier. And that's where I can get my business and really focus on growth.
Love that. So you've all shared something that's stuck with you since Mega Camp, but sometimes we go to these events and these events challenge something that we're already doing. And I wonder, what happened at Mega Camp that might have challenged something that you've already believe or that you're already doing, and what did that look like? How about for you, Jill?
Um, I have not messed with LinkedIn in many, many, many years.
Mhm.
And one of the speakers really focused on don't ignore it, that there's a lot of power there and that it has a lot of tools now to help us. So even as simple as it will send out a monthly newsletter that once you've got that dialed in, it goes. And he really was like, seriously, the agents who have listened to me, their businesses have grown significantly in a year. So that is my challenge, because I was like, it's not necessary. I'm focusing on all of these other channels of business. So I'm going to embrace that. I have not yet, but
Yeah.
I'll let you know.
Yeah. All right. Savanna, how about for you? What was something that was challenged in your business?
The listing prep. So when Sarah Reynolds was talking just about the prep slow, sell fast, and even though that's something we've been doing with clients, we hold listings for quite some time and prep them. The way she explained it and the process she's putting them through, and just some of the key points. She said, when you when there's less time, it steals equity. And that's just kind of the line she sticks with. And I like that she said it steals equity, because I think that's what sellers still want. They want to maximize their dollars right now. And that's not ultimately what's happening if they're getting on the market quickly. And so being able to slightly change a little bit how we're communicating with sellers up front, getting them into action sooner with us, take the listing agreements even 3 months prior to actually having the list date, so we can help them confidently move through. And we have those vendors, and we've done that with some listings. I mean, we just did that with one of our, we took a listing back in May. It went live last week while we were at Mega Camp, and we had multiple offers on it. And it was so to hear it and then have the proof happen at the same time, I was like, okay, like, we've just got to make this really solid within our systems, because it's it's not just a beauty contest out there anymore. It's making sure you have the most sound house at the best
Yeah.
dollar.
Yeah. Savannah, can you, just for those who weren't there, can you spend a couple more moments talking about the steel equity concept, um, which was so brilliantly discussed by Sarah?
Yes. So she has basically a group of three things that she does for her clients in her presentation. So this is something we're going to be adding in. It's price aggressive, and then price at or price high. And when people are starting to kind of be at that price high or want to price at where the market currently is at, basically what she's explaining to them is that over time, showings are going to slow down, time on market, buyers start having more questions, right? And
Yeah.
so what ends up happening is you're losing equity. So if, the house is worth 900,000 but they want to start high at 930, then having the conversation with them that likely they're going to actually end up below 9. So
Yeah.
really you're kind of trying to force them away from that higher number and at least come where it should be at, but still knowing that they're probably going to lose equity. And if you're pricing aggressive, you're
Yeah.
actually going to be making more equity. And again, we saw that this week.
Yeah. And instead of just saying we don't want to overprice your house, we say we don't want to steal your equity because
Yes.
nobody wants to lose their equity.
Yeah.
And so making sure that sellers understand the consequences are different than just getting less of a sales price. It's stealing the equity that they work so hard. Regina, how about for you? What was something at Mega Camp that challenged what you already believe or what you already do?
So ever since I started in this business, I've been doing script practice, and now we changed it all to dialogue and conversation practice, to handling those objections and things like that. I love Phil Jones, some family reunion, Rocky Mountain Summit, and several other times with, Inspire Collective. Of course, I bought the cards, I bought the books, I've bought
Yeah.
everything. And I had a conversation with him in front of the KW Cares booth because he was autographing copies. And I said, I'm really struggling with this. And he said, Oh, so you mean you can't buy a book or can't buy a box, look at the QR code, play a little game, and think that you're going to be really great at having
Right.
conversations? And he really nailed me when he said, you really have to look at how you're framing things and reframe them in order to change the flow of the conversation. And by pulling phrases out off of cards is not going to get you to reframe it, but you have to look at the whole thing and practice it a lot more with inside that context
Mhm.
instead of just, saying a question over and over again or louder and louder to expect a different result and
Yeah.
or a different conversation. So,
Got that. Yeah. Love
mhm.
that. Okay. Let's fast forward 2 years from now. What do you think you're going to look back on from this mega camp as the most consequential decision that you made as a result of what you learned? Regina, you want to take that?
Okay, there are a couple different things, but this weekend I was up in Gillette, Wyoming, celebrating my only grandson's birthday. He was 1 years old. Gary really emphasized a lot of, winning the morning with the prayer, meditation, the workout, all that wealth that we gain from spiritual wealth, physical wealth, financial wealth, and focusing on those priorities of the day, because he said that he wants to be running around with his grandkids while the other grandparents might not be able to physically handle that. And that's
Yeah.
going to impact his relationship with those kids. Um, my husband and I are 15 years older than the other set of grandparents for my grandson. And we
Yeah.
were the ones in the swimming pool running around. And I want to always be that grandparent, and taking care of myself, helps in taking care of my business and also our family and all those key relationships.
Yeah.
So I
Absolutely.
want to look at it differently than what I'm doing now.
For
Mhm.
sure. Savannah, how about for you?
Friendships. When Simon Simic was talking about friendships, I've been very head down the past 2 years, um, working my tail off. And I think it was a wake up call of just realizing to really tap into those friendships. and having those 8-minute conversations. I think sometimes in this business we can feel very alone. There's a lot of things that happen on a day-to-day business. There's a lot of emotions surrounding transactions. And just being a very open book here, I'm just someone that usually will just push it down and you just put your head down and you go. And I heard it clear that that shouldn't be the case. You should have that powerful group. That doesn't mean you have to be an open book to everybody. You shouldn't be putting a sob story out on Facebook and cry for attention, but have
Right.
a true group of friends that you can call just for 8 minutes. It doesn't have to be an hour conversation, but 8 minutes to be able to go, okay, this is what's going on. I just need to get it off my chest. And once that happens, I so ironically, I felt like every conversation, right, happens in perfect timing for a certain reason. And what you hear it for a certain reason. And I had just done that before the week of Mega Camp because our team currently has a lot going on. And after that, I was able to then rationally think about the solutions to go forward versus in that moment before I had called that friend, I was very stuck.
Yeah.
So I just challenge all of you if that you feel stuck, frustration, depression, isolation in this business, call a friend.
Yeah. Love that. Savanna, you were on stage for your first time, I think, at Mega Camp, right?
Yes. Yeah, I
What
was,
did you
well,
what did you talk
first
about?
time on the podcast I did with Jason Abrams, Safe, Heard, and Informed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Cool. We were proud to see you up there. Jill,
Yep.
how about for you? 2 years from now, what do you think you're going to be looking back on and saying was most consequential?
Well, I really love both Savannah and Regina's answers. They were so from the heart.
Yeah,
And mine's more business. But
go for it.
um, so I think what I really impacted me is AI and can it find you? Because that is like, I think that's going to impact all of us in the next couple of years. Like, you've got to pay attention to it, and I'm still grinding. I've got my sphere of influence, I have my relationships, but so many people are starting with AI to say, hey, how is my agent that I've had forever? Are they out there working hard? And other people that they may refer to you, they look on AI to see if they can find you. And if you can't be found, that is a problem. And here's a quick takeaway for everybody that shocked me. They said AI can get really confused if you have your name a little different, your
Yeah,
address a little different, your phone number. So go to all of those websites that we all, got our information when we first went into this business. Go into Zillow, Realtor.com, all of those places that AI is looking at, and make sure your information is exactly the same. Because if you've added a team member, maybe you're a team name now, maybe you changed your phone number, something, make sure all of it matches. Otherwise,
yeah,
you're confusing AI. And that's like step number one. That I'm like, okay, I can do that. I'm going to go make sure all of that looks good. And then they also shared a QR code that you can scan and put your website in there, and it'll give you a score of how AI is looking at that and finding all of that. And that can kind of help you. So I'm happy to send that to you guys if you want to send that out, or maybe you have
yeah.
it
Send it. We'll put it
in
in the notes
slides.
when we send
But
it out.
yeah, that was very impactful for me. Like, uh-oh, I need to make a couple of little tweaks.
Yeah. And Jill, you were on stage this week with KW Couples. What is that?
It is official community, which is very exciting. It became official in June, and it's a group of couples so that we can help people learn how to work better together, because you have unique challenges and you have
Yeah.
unique joys and benefits of working together with your spouse. But it's remarkable how quickly it's growing. We're over 200 already. And the conversation with these top agents who are doing business really well with their spouse, everybody has stories of like the struggle and the different things they've put into place in their home and business to really make them thrive and still do even better together without it ruining your marriage is
Yeah.
key. So it's really been fun having increasing these conversations of teaching about that.
So KW Couples is KW's newest community. If somebody wants information about that, how do they find it?
Oh, I can send you that QR code as well.
All right.
Because really it's about, we have a Facebook group, a WhatsApp and things like that. But, even if you just look on Facebook and things like that for KW Couples, you should find us.
Awesome. Charles, you were on stage also. What did you talk about?
Yeah, so the conversation that we had was around using social media to be the real estate economist of choice. And I don't know if anyone else is noticing this right now, but if you were to go onto Google, Google no longer is using a lot of the old ways that we would have used search. And so Google Gemini is what is powering Google right now. And when you're going through the AI overview, it's actually listing Reddit. It's pushing out meta resources like Instagram and Facebook. It's doing TikTok. And so the conversation that we had was really about using social media no longer for getting likes, but for actually being a source on Google. And what's interesting is just even popping on Inman right now, and to Jill's point, there's an article out here right now that says when you ask AI for the best agent, top producers often lose out. And so as we're going through here, I think it's very important, even what Jill just said, is that we're going through, we're auditing our social medias, we're auditing our website, we're auditing everything to make sure that we're giving the indicators to AI. And that was the big conversation that we were having, was just how do we make sure that we're ranking to be that real estate economist of choice so that we're actually pulling people into our Met database from Google.
Yeah. Spoken like a true regional tech trainer. Jill, Regina, Savanna, Charles, thank you for sharing with us today. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you,
you.
Russ.
All
Yes.
right.
Thank
Our
you.
next regional rally is Monday, September 21. We will see you on that, and we'll see you at the Rocky Mountain Summit a couple days after. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.